over a period of 4 to 5 months. A lesser number of workers are still being exposed. There are workers today out there working for BP and BP contractors trying to address the crude and the dispersants that are still in the environment and still being exposed today. The pathways of exposure are inhalation, ingestion, and skin contact. The workers were not provided with adequate and appropriate training, and they weren't provided with protective equipment. There were two dispersants that were used, 9500 and 9527 of Corexit. 1.84 million gallons of Corexit 9500 and 9527 were applied to the BP crude oil spill. 1.07 million gallons were applied to the surface on what you saw on a lot of the TV programs as the slick on the surface of the Gulf of Mexico. 771,000 gallons were applied subsurface near the wellhead. And the idea of applying it subsurfaces as the crude flowed out of the wellhead, it was supposed to be mixed with the dispersant. And in fact, they formed two layers. You didn't have that mixing. But the interesting thing is, if you believe the numbers, for every 93 gallons of crude oil that flowed out of the wellhead and was released into the environment, 1 gallon of dispersant was applied. 93 gallons of crude released into the environment, 1 gallon of dispersant released into the environment. So in addition to the crude oil spill, we had a huge dispersant released into the environment. And that always has seemed to be the forgotten portion of the impacts to the environment and human health. So here I've listed for you the human health associated with the dispersants. You'll look down this list and you'll see short-term headaches, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. And then you see long-term, the damage to the blood cells. People were talking today about internal bleeding as a result of damage to the red blood cells. Cardiovascular problems. There are two up here that we haven't seen yet. Other than those two, we have seen all of these health impacts that are associated with the dispersant in the people that were workers and were people that lived along the coast. The two we haven't seen are genetic damage and mutations and reproductive and developmental damage. Now we're at 9 months from the initial flowing of the wellhead. So are we not seeing them, or are people not associating reproductive and developmental damage? Probably people are not associating it back, but those are the two things we're now looking for really closely, because we're now 9 months out, and there is the potential to start seeing all of these, including the genetic and the reproductive damage. The dispersant was last applied, quote, on July 19, 2010. It was limited to 3 miles from the shore. It was supposedly done out near the wellhead. However, after July 19th, and even before that date, we are continuing to hear over and over again from the people in the coastal areas and the wetlands that dispersant is being applied by airplanes and by boat, by the Carolina skiffs and by airplanes. I've been reporting that to the federal agents over and over again. And their response initially was, it can't be applied in the coastal areas. It can't be closer than 3 miles from the shore, which is the Louisiana waters. And this is all the way across the coast, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the Panhandle of Florida. So they know of the complaints. I'm still getting the complaints. I got one Friday that said they had sprayed the night before by airplane. And the feds will listen to me, but they won't talk back to me because they say it's a criminal investigation. But that doesn't get any help for the people in this room and the people on the coastal area. So it's really critical that if you hear a plane or if you see a boat spraying, that you call it in to your parish, your county, your state agency, get it recorded. So when I told you for every 93 gallons of crude that was released into the environment, 1 gallon of dispersant was applied, that doesn't count what has been applied along the coastal area.